Hello everyone, today we will be learning about Ethernet cables and learning some basic networking terms to help you better understand how wired networks work. The emphasis on this video is Ethernet cables. This will be a fairly long video, so I have included a table of contents for you to pick and choose where you want to go. I do encourage you to check out the whole video. Here are some terms that you should be familiar with. I will not cover all of them, but I will touch on a few of these as we go through. Feel free to pause the video and familiarize yourself before moving on. LAN, that is a local area network such as houses or business. It's usually located inside of one network. A modem, which gets its name from modulator/demodulator, translates analog signal to digital signal as well as digital signal to analog signal. A router directs network traffic via Ethernet cables or even wirelessly. What its main purpose is to help connect multiple networks together. A switch directs network traffic via Ethernet cables on a LAN. UTP is an unshielded twisted pair Ethernet cable. UTP cables are more susceptible to radio and electrical frequency interferences. There are 8 wires in there, so there are 4 twisted pairs, and they are twisted to prevent crosstalk between each of the pairs. STP is a shielded twisted pair Ethernet cable. These shields come in 3 different fashions. One is where each pair is twisted and shielded with foil. The second is where a foil jacket wraps around all 4 twisted pairs, bringing them together. And then a third is a combination of the other 2. Basically, each twisted pair is wrapped in foil, and then there's foil that goes around all 4 twisted pairs. This is also referred to as a double shield twisted pair cable. RJ45 is the connector or the plug that goes on the end of an Ethernet cable that allows you to plug into network keystones or ports. Network keystones and ports are the ports that's in the wall, the patch panel, the switch, or even the NIC on a computer or VoIP phone. And that's where the RJ45 plugs into. I'm not going to go too much in depth here, just for the simple fact that I do have 2 other videos out there about RJ45 and network keystones. I encourage you to check those out. Those are included down below. So in this next section, we're going to talk about the technology behind networking. There's a few protocols that I believe will be important for you to know. IP, which is Internet Protocol, and what it does is governs how packets are transmitted over networks. You'll hear IP with IP address or VoIP, voice over IP. Definitely learn it because you're going to hear a lot about it as you stay and develop more into networking. TCP, also known as TCP/IP, is Transmission Control Protocol. It's kind of like a highway traffic controller. TCP and IP work together to transmit data over the internet as a whole. TCP ensures reliability when transmitting data over the internet. And it does this by ensuring that no packets are lost. It ensures that all packets are delivered in the correct order. It ensures that any delay in delivering the packets is at an acceptable level. And it ensures that there's no duplication of any packets. The transmission control protocol happens, and then the internet protocol happens. Examples of using TCP is email, VoIP calls, file transfers, and even downloading software. UDP is User Diagram Protocol. It's very similar to TCP, but it doesn't have the reliability aspect, but it does use less bandwidth than TCP. An example for this is video conferencing as well as online and real-time gaming. Understanding the differences between TCP and UDP is a must for networking. So if you don't quite understand the differences, definitely ask me below and I'm more than happy to help out, but I do encourage you to also do some research. Something else to know is the OSI model. Now I'm not going to go over the whole OSI model, but you should learn it, especially if you're interested in networking. However, since we are talking about Ethernet cables, you should know that they belong in layer 1, which is the physical layer, where computers, servers, and VoIP phones also reside. In Section 3, we're going to go over the different types of Ethernet cables. This table that you're viewing will give you all the necessary information on Ethernet cables. I tend to use Cat5e and Cat6 in most of my applications, whether it's at work or at home. At this point, they are the two most popular cables due to cost effectiveness and speed capabilities. As you can tell, the higher the category, the faster the speed that they can handle. This is due to a few things such as the cables are more tightly twisted, preventing some interference. The cables have more shielding, which prevents more interference. And Category 7A and Category 8 cables have foil added as additional shielding. If you need to, pause the video and look over the information provided in this table. Section 4 is going to be brief. It's wired versus wireless. Now, I get a lot of questions out in the real world about wireless versus wired networks. Which is better? What would I suggest? Is there a common ground? And so on and so forth. What you need to know is that wireless has great mobility. It's quick and easy to set up, and it has a fairly low cost. Also, it's easier to expand. But wired networks also have some perks. Wired networks have more security, less interference, a more consistent and more reliable network connection, and they tend to have more speed. My suggestion is to wire where you can and use wireless when you need mobility. Section 5 is about standards when it comes to wiring up an RJ45 plug, keystones, and patch panel connections. There's two, the T-568A and the T-568B. There is also a crossover option for the Ethernet cable, which I will go over. So check out this diagram to familiarize yourself with both standards. So what's the difference between the two standards? The T-568A has backwards compatibility to both 1-pair and 2-pair USOC wiring schemes. The T-568B standard matches the older color codes to ATA and T258A, which is more widely used. Which standard should you use? The B standard is most popular, as mentioned, but you can choose to use either. I suggest B because every job, including my internship and even through research and college studying, has been more popular and has been the preferred standard to use. While the B standard tends to be more popular, whichever standard that you choose to start with, you should stay with. Changing standards halfway through a job can create more of a headache than anything, especially when troubleshooting. I suggest A to A and B to B. What you will mostly be working with are what's called straight-through cables, which have the same exact pinout at both ends of the cables where the RJ45 plugs are placed. These are most popular and are used to connect computers or VoIP phones to a network router or switch. You can, however, use a crossover cable for troubleshooting or connecting two like devices such as two computers or two switches. What a crossover cable is a cable that has the A standard at one end and the B standard at the other end. Now, these are wired with RJ45 ends and they look just like normal patch cables. To sum up this video, it takes a lot to ensure that a network is running correctly. Choosing how you want to set up your network can be a daunting task. Do you want to do more hardwiring? Do you want to do more wireless? Is it possible to do more hardwiring than wireless? Also, what devices should you use? What ISP should you use? And do you need a switch? And so on and so forth. However, choosing which Ethernet cables you want to run can be fairly easy. Cat 5e would be great for the average home, while Cat 6 would be overkill but good prep for the future. Cat 6 and higher are great for businesses, and in the long run, it'll save them some money. I hope I helped you rather than confused you in this video. If you have any questions, leave them below and I'm happy to answer them. And always, do some research. See if you can stumble across anything, because networking, when you start doing research, it can become a rabbit hole. One thing leads to another, and next thing you know, you're learning things you never thought you would understand. So thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe.